It was supposed to be a quiet Saturday, the kind that Adam Matthews looked forward to all week. Out on the edge of his family-owned 200-acre ranch in East Texas, nestled beside a clear lake lined with his grandfather's oak trees, he sat in a folding chair with his dog Rusty and a fishing pole. The morning sun danced across the water, and the only sounds were birds chirping and the occasional splash of a fish breaking the surface. Peace. Solitude. The kind of moment Adam cherished most, but that peace shattered with the sound of heels, clicking against the dry autumn grass. Rusty was the first to notice. His ears shot up, and he let out a low, cautious growl. He was normally friendly with strangers, so the growl was Adam's first clue that something was off. When he turned around, he saw a woman in a tailored navy blue business suit approaching with the purposeful stride of someone used to being in charge. "Excuse me," the woman called out, her tone wrapped in saccharine politeness, but underlined with something sharper. "I'm Selina Thornfield, president of the Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association." Adam stood up, brushing some dirt off his jeans. "Well, hello there, Miss Thornfield," he said, Rusty standing alert beside him. "I'm Adam Matthews. What can I do for you?" She gestured at his modest setup, the tent, cooler, rods, folding chairs, like she had spotted garbage strewn across a wedding aisle. "Mr. Matthews, your camping activities are creating quite an eyesore for our community. Our residents have invested significant money in their homes. We expect a certain aesthetic standard." Adam blinked. "Ma'am, this is my property. It's been in my family since 1947. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm just enjoying a weekend by the lake." Selina's tight smile thinned even more. "Oh, I understand you believe this is your property, Mr. Matthews. But lake access laws in Texas are complicated. You might want to double-check your assumptions. There are community interests to consider." The air shifted. What had started as a nosy neighbor visit now smelled of something far worse. A threat. Adam could feel Rusty stiffen beside him. He bent down and gave the dog a quick pat, steadying both of their nerves. "Miss Thornfield," he said calmly, "I have a clear title to this land. The lake is fully within my boundaries. I pay taxes on every inch of it." She cocked her head, smile faltering for just a split second. "Mr. Matthews, you don't want to be difficult. A wise man considers how his actions affect others. Think about inspections, code violations, and the influence of a well-organized community. Sometimes it's smarter to work with your neighbors than against them." Now the sugar had completely melted off her voice. The meaning was unmistakable. Comply or suffer. Adam's voice turned to steel. "This conversation is over. You're trespassing. If you have a legal issue, you're welcome to contact your attorney. Now kindly leave my property." Selina stared at him a moment longer, her shark-like grin returning. "Very well, but I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon." With that, she pivoted and marched back toward the new development. Adam stood silently, Rusty watching her retreat like a soldier watching an enemy fall back, both knowing it wasn't the end. It only took a few days for the next move. Adam returned one afternoon with Rusty to find a brand new sign staked beside his lakefront. "No trespassing by order of Pinewood Estates HOA." At first, he thought it must be a prank. Then he noticed it was professionally printed with a HOA seal and contact number listed. Rusty barked furiously beside him as if he could sense the violation in the air. Adam was furious. Not only had someone trespassed to place it, but they were now pretending to claim his land as part of the HOA's jurisdiction. The sign wasn't just offensive, it was legally dangerous. If someone uneducated about the boundaries saw that, they might genuinely believe Adam was in the wrong. He ripped the sign out of the ground and stood holding it like a war trophy when he heard it, the soft hum of a golf cart engine in the distance. Selina appeared moments later, flanked by two men in matching black polos with Pinewood security stitched on their chests. They looked less like guards and more like bouncers, the kind who took joy in tossing people out of bars. "Mr. Matthews," she called, her tones syrupy again. "I see you're tampering with community property. I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the sign and leave this area immediately." Adam stared at her, incredulous. "Community property? This is my land, and this sign is going straight in the trash." The guards took a half step forward, and Adam raised his hand to stop Rusty, who had started barking again. Selena narrowed her eyes. "You're making a mistake." Adam didn't blink. "So are years." Adam went home that night, but his mind was racing. He couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but rage. He knew that people like Selena counted on intimidation working. They relied on people backing down, selling out, giving up. The next day, he started digging. He searched online for anything about Selena Thornfield and Pinewood Estates. What he found made his blood run cold. Selena wasn't just an HOA president. She was listed on paperwork from Thornfield Development, a regional company known for luxury subdivisions around East Texas. 2 previous developments were linked to controversial property disputes. In both cases, landowners near lakes or desirable plots had complained of HOA harassment, followed by quick, quiet sales at below-market prices. The pieces were falling into place. Now it made sense. That sign wasn't just a scare tactic. It was a claim. A psychological seed meant to unsettle him, to make him doubt the security of his land, his legacy. It wasn't about fishing poles or camp chairs. It was about power, control, and money. Adam went back to the lake the next morning and posted something new, a laminated copy of his land deed, showing clearly that the lake fell within his boundaries. Below it, he nailed a hand-painted wooden plaque, "Private property since 1947. Trespassers will be barked at." Rusty gave a single approving bark, but the HOA wasn't finished. That weekend, Adam returned to his lakefront to find Pinewood Estate security parked in a golf cart at the edge of his property. They weren't patrolling their land, they were watching his. When Adam confronted them, they claimed they were monitoring for community safety. Selena appeared not long after, arms crossed, that same corporate smile on her face. "We have concerns about unregulated camping," she said, "and unauthorized structures. We may have to report this to county code enforcement." Adam stepped closer, Rusty growling beside him. "You're out of your jurisdiction. Step 1 foot farther onto my land, and I'll report you for trespassing." She held his gaze. "You really should think about the future, Mr. Matthews, about what's best for everyone." He didn't flinch. "I am. That's why I'm not going anywhere." As Selena and her guards retreated, Adam knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a fight for a lake. This was a fight for his legacy. The tension that had first sparked between Adam Matthews and Selena Thornfield erupted into open conflict just days later. As Adam walked with Rusty toward his usual fishing spot by the lake, something new and deeply unsettling greeted him. A large sign, crudely driven into the soil near the water's edge, read in bold red letters, "No trespassing, by order of Pinewood Estates HOA." Adam froze. The air felt different, heavier, charged. Rusty, normally joyful when near the water, began barking in confusion and agitation. The sight of the sign felt like a slap across the face. The words weren't just offensive, they were illegal. This was his land, passed down through generations. He'd played here as a child, camped here through his teen years, and fished this very lake to clear his mind after his father passed. And now, some newly minted HOA president dared to claim it as her community's property. As the shock wore off, Adam's fury surged. He tore the sign from the ground and examined it more closely. It wasn't just a warning, it was a declaration of dominion. And just as the splinters of the removed sign bit into his palm, the low hum of a golf cart engine echoed across the field. Selena had returned, and she hadn't come alone. Selena approached in a shiny white golf cart, 2 burly men flanking her. They wore identical black polos with Pinewood security stitched in sharp green letters across their chests. They looked like former linebackers moonlighting as hired muscle. They moved in sync, stepping off the cart with practiced authority, their expressions stone cold. Adam stood his ground, the sign still clutched in his hand like a shield. Rusty growled beside him, his hackles raised. The dog, usually friendly, and Mello sensed the tension in the air. Adam placed a hand on Rusty's head to calm him, but didn't move an inch. Selina wore her usual cold smile, the kind that barely concealed her contempt. "Mr. Matthews," she called, her tone falsely. "Sugary, you're tampering with community property. I'm going to have to ask you to step away from that sign and leave the area." Adam's jaw tightened. "This is my property, Selina. You know that. You have no right to post signs here, and you sure as hell have no right to bring security guards onto my land." The security men didn't move, but their presence was intimidating. It was a calculated move, a power play, and Adam recognized it immediately. But intimidation wouldn't work. On him. Not here. Not on his family's soil. This land was more than dirt and water. It was legacy. And no paper-pushing HOA queen was going to take that from him. That evening, after the confrontation by the lake, Adam sat at his kitchen table, still reeling from the encounter. He pulled out his laptop and started digging. If Selina thought she could scare him off with fake authority, she was in for a surprise. He started with Pinewood Estates, a new development, quickly constructed, high-end homes packed tightly against the eastern edge of his property. The HOA had only been formed 3 months prior, but Selina Thornfield, she had a longer track record. A quick search revealed she was previously involved in another HOA in a nearby county, Green Meadows, and the same pattern had occurred. A quiet neighborhood disrupted, homeowners pressured to sell, and property quietly transferred to a development. Firm called Thornfield Development, registered under the name of her brother, William Thornfield. A chill ran through Adam. Thornfield Development had been snapping up lakefront properties across Texas, and their strategy: weaponize HOAs to harass adjacent landowners until they sold at a loss. It had worked before, but this time they had picked the wrong ranch. Adam dug deeper and uncovered 2 concrete examples of Thornfield Development's tactics. In one case, a retired couple in Denton County had been harassed for nearly a year by their local HOA. Noise complaints, fence height violations, citations for grass that was allegedly too tall. The couple finally sold their lakeside cabin at a fraction of its value just to escape the stress. The buyer? Thornfield Development. In another case, a family with a generational home on a river bend in Burnett County faced constant harassment. They had a small dock, a few boats, and hosted family reunions on the weekends. The HOA issued complaints about parking, party noise, and even unauthorized wildlife feeding when their kids tossed bread to ducks. The family eventually cracked and sold. Again, Thornfield Development. This wasn't coincidence. This was strategy, legal, methodical, and sinister. Selina Thornfield wasn't just an overzealous HOA president. She was part of a land acquisition scheme, using authority and fear to manipulate people off valuable land. Armed with documentation and burning with purpose, Adam reached out to a property rights attorney named Angela Cruz. Known for her fierce courtroom demeanor and success fighting against corporate overreach, she was exactly who Adam needed. He showed her the property records, the tax history, the maps clearly marking his ownership of the lakefront. He provided screenshots of the sign, photos of the security guards trespassing, and even a recording of his first confrontation with Selina. Angela's eyes narrowed as she reviewed everything. "This isn't just harassment," she said, her voice sharp with resolve. "It's a coordinated attempt at land theft. You're lucky you didn't. Back down. Most people do. They worked late into the night preparing legal notices, cease and desist letters, and filing paperwork for a restraining order against Pinewood Estates for unlawful trespassing. Adam wasn't just defending his land anymore, he was preparing to take the fight to them. Also, Jayla also had a plan: go public. HOA abuse stories often caught fire online, especially when tied to corporate exploitation. She recommended gathering testimonials from other victims of Thornfield development, compiling them into a case, and contacting local news. Adam nodded. Let's expose them. All of them. The battle line had been drawn. Selena had declared war. Adam was ready to win it. A week after his meeting with Angela, Adam found himself standing in front of a news camera, microphone clipped to his collar, Rusty at his side. The local NBC affiliate had picked up the story after Angela reached out with a press release and supporting evidence. The headline on the screen read, "Local Rancher Battles HOA Over Family Land." The interview was raw and real. Adam spoke not only about the land, but about the emotional legacy behind it. He shared how he used to fish on the lake with his grandfather, how his parents planted those oak trees with their bare hands, and how Rusty now swam in the same water that 3 generations of Matthews had grown up on. Selena declined to be interviewed, but the HOA issued a vague written statement about community standards and mutual respect. What they hadn't expected was the public response. Thousands of comments poured in from people all over Texas and the nation, sharing their own HOA horror stories. Several other former landowners came forward confirming Adam's findings, coordinated campaigns of harassment, false complaints, and eventual sales to Thornfield Development. By the end of the week, the story had made the state news circuit. Public sentiment swung heavily in Adam's favor. The HOA had woken a sleeping giant. A few days after the news coverage aired, Adam received a visit from the County Code Enforcement Office. A man with a clipboard and a nervous look handed Adam a citation for unapproved structures near a shared waterway. Adam didn't need to ask who filed the complaint. "It's the tent and the fishing shed," the inspector explained, clearly uncomfortable. "Someone lodged a report saying you're disrupting public access to the shoreline." Adam laughed, bitterly. "There is no public shoreline. It's all my land." He took the inspector around the property and showed him the boundary lines, historical maps, and title deeds. The inspector scratched his head and eventually admitted, "This looks like a setup. I'll note this and let the department handle it." Angela filed a formal complaint the next day, accusing Selena and the HOA of abusing municipal systems for personal gain. The legal counterattack had begun, and Selena was about to feel the weight of the law crashing back at her. Knowing this, battle was as much about public support as it was about legal maneuvering. Adam hosted a town hall on his property. Dozens of people came, neighbors from nearby ranches, disillusioned residents of Pinewood Estates, and even strangers who'd read about the story and wanted to help. Angela stood beside Adam and presented the legal evidence on a projector. Maps, documents, witness statements, everything laid bare. Adam told his story again, this time not just as a landowner, but as a steward of community justice. "If they can take my lake, they can take yours," he said, voice steady. "We don't need to bow to false authority. We need to stand up for our homes, our land, and our legacy." A woman from the crowd stood up and tearfully recounted her experience with Thornfield Development. Another man shared how his father had been pressured to sell his fishing cabin a county over. By the end of the night, a coalition had formed. Not just neighbors, but fighters. Adam wasn't alone anymore. The pressure became too much. The local newspaper launched an investigation of Thornfield Development and published a 3-part exposé. Reporters uncovered the shady connection between the HOA and the development firm. Selena's conflict of interest was blatant. Then came the audit. County officials, spurred by Adam and Angela's formal complaints, reviewed the incorporation documents of the HOA. What they found was a mess: improper filings, misused funds, and failure to follow transparency laws required by Texas homeowner regulations. An emergency meeting was called at Pinewood Estates. Residents who had once trusted Selena now turned on her. She was voted out as HOA president, replaced by a retired judge who vowed to repair the damage and restore neighborly peace. Selena left the neighborhood 2 weeks later. No farewell party, no victory, just silence. With the legal battles won and the media frenzy behind him, Adam returned to what he loved: mornings on the lake with Rusty, afternoons tending the land, evenings watching the sun dip behind the oaks, planted decades ago. Angela helped him place a conservation easement on the lakefront, ensuring it could never be sold or developed by outside interests. The Matthews land was now legally protected for future generations. People continued to visit. Some brought their children to learn how to fish. Others came just to walk under the trees and breathe clean air. Adam welcomed them. His land was private, but his heart was not. And as for Rusty, he lay content by Adam's side, tail wagging, ears perked toward the calm ripple of the lake. Selena had tried to steal peace with power, but Adam proved that legacy, truth, and grit could still triumph in modern America. The lake was quiet again, but now it carried the echo of a hard-won victory.